name is Scott Tucker. Welcome to The Algorithm. Since 2004, when we embarked on this journey of discovery, most of the focus was on wildlife. Everything from ants of North America to the humpback whales off the Dominican Republic, and the sharks of the Galapagos Islands, to the coyotes and katydids living in New England. I promise much more of that in 2023. But before we launch any deeper into the world of the animal kingdom, I need you to join me on my latest adventure, the study of human behavior. That's right, our own motivations. I'm talking about modern anthropology. This is The Algorithm. Check this out. I suppose I knew this would happen. That's why I was so screwed up in the head over the whole thing. The money's one thing, yes, that drove me crazy. But the possibility of doing this myself, fixing my own rudder, was irresistible. But it's a double-edged sword. I'm still on the verge of thinking that I can't do it. I won't get it done in time. Every morning I wake up obsessed over how to fix this and finish it. Okay, I think we can do this. I can't even begin to tell you how much space this is renting in my head right now. Alright, so this is obvious. That's got to go down. It's got to go down. This is troublesome. It should come down. I think I can do it. Just about horrifying, the process. Don't think, just do. Yesterday was a turning point. I finally got someone in the know, face to face. No pictures, just the basics. Turned out the guy was a surveyor that I had run into and who had kiboshed the sale of a previous vessel that I had. And the guy basically said, look, don't put the old skin back on. You're gonna have a hell of a hard time trying to get it to actually adhere. Better off to lay some new glass. So I'm this close from getting this sucker smooth. Well, okay, maybe I'm a couple hundred miles away from getting this sucker smooth enough, but I can do it. Out there.
I think people challenge themselves for many different reasons, but it's definitely intrinsic and perhaps to achieve a goal.
So I have created this project to almost purposefully torture myself through February, and now it's March 19th. I am not done. Okay, I'm on a deadline. I've got to finish this thing to get the boat back in the water. Right. Why did I do this? Okay, money is one thing. God darn it, I'm not going to fork over that kind of money. But I think there's another component behind why we do things. And for me, in previous work, I realized it's, I constantly feel like, well, I've got to prove my own worthiness. I've got to prove, to myself and to the world, like I can do it. It's really a self-esteem thing, I think. Eventually, maybe just before I do die, I will no longer need to prove anything to anybody. And sometimes I get glimpses like, wow, I don't need to prove anything to anybody. But I think it's, I'm trying to overcompensate. I'm sorry. Sorry, could you repeat that?
I said it's not like you drive a little red Porsche, you know. You're not compensating. I think you just want to continue to push yourself. And you have such creative energy that sometimes you take on big challenges. And they're good for you. Keep you driven and motivated. And when it's done and we're sailing, you will feel really good about it.
That's right. Every day, your body generates 98.6 degrees. All you got to do is retain enough of it to maintain temperatures that you desire. Alcohol is a drug. I choose to abstain from all drugs, including alcohol. That's right. 98.6 degrees. At some point, I realized the second batch of foam I'm using to install to fill the voids is only 2-pound density. It's too late now. Okay, so obviously we got a little bit of a problem here. Those areas that I just poured, too much air voids. I'm gonna have to sand that out and do it again, maybe. Not the end of the world, but it certainly wasn't what I had hoped. Bottom line is, we made progress. I've never seen anything like this woman in my entire life. One minute, she's whipping up a gourmet meal. The next, she's reupholstering the headboard on cloud 9. It's as though I'm an assistant to a surgeon. Glue gun, staple gun. Here, hold this, grab that. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Look at that. You knocked this out in no time flat. Oh, it's beautiful. It's all about minus the area, minus. Become one with the sanding device. Tune into the final level. Let the machine do the work. Don't try to do it all yourself with the muscles. Ask questions of the people around you and just close your mouth and listen to the answers. The mind will oftentimes cause one to just incessantly talk from deep down in their own neuroses. Ask questions and sit back and listen to the answers. Get to know those around you. Relax. There's no reason to be talking incessantly about oneself. At some point, it became obvious to me that as I approached my late 50s, mid to late 50s, I started to notice this trend. A few of my peers had lost tolerance for me and basically said, look, I don't want to be your friend anymore. And I noticed that the same thing happened to myself with respect to other people. I just lost my tolerance. I no longer wanted to actually be friends with them anymore. Their behavior was like nails on a chalkboard. So one day I woke up and I realized, wow, between me subtracting people and others subtracting me, your world gets kind of small. So you got to reach out and get new friends. And that's it.
So this is cock. This is a little bit of cock.
Upon inspection of my keel, I realized there's a seam opening up. It is the point where the weighted winged keel is secured and fastened to the bottom of the hull. It's a pretty big deal. We got to get it figured out.
She wants a more formal commitment. She wants a more formal commitment. She wants a more formal commitment.
She wants a more formal commitment.
She wants a more formal commitment. She wants a more formal commitment.
She wants a more formal commitment.
Same material, I think. It's not good. This is one of those moments where your mind starts racing and you believe that you've actually bought a lemon. A similar size boat, I don't know, 34-footer, there's reports that they had some issues. It's definitely not good. This is normal. This is a concern here. I'd like to find out what this stuff is made out of. If it's iron, I do not know. If the keel is made out of, that's obviously a important thing to find out, but if your keel falls off the bottom of your boat while you're underway, the boat will capsize almost immediately, like Michael Plant's boat when he was making the transatlantic crossing. I'd like to take this thing on a transatlantic crossing, so we got to figure this out. It makes no sense to me that people exclusively wear clothing made of cotton. After all, cotton clothing is like wrapping yourself up in a death blanket. It boggles my mind how the entire planet seems to be lost in a hypnotic trance of cotton thanks to the Eli Whitney invention of the cotton gin in 1794, leaving the whole world with little to no choice but what to wear, just cheap cotton. I'll never forget this one woman who I'd gone to high school with. She's become a PhD or whatever, and we were talking, and I was frustrated, and listen, I used an inappropriate word that the psychiatric and the social work community no longer uses anymore, in jest, partially just out of stupidity from the fact that we went to high school and we used many words then that we no longer use now. And she basically just interrupted me and said, "Don't ever call me again." I'm just like, okay, all right, that was it. Conversely, I remember the situation after my divorce. One particular guy thought it was appropriate for him to try to shame me on social media, and he really attempted to bash me pretty good. I'd hit a sore nerve, I believe. He really did not approve of the fact that I left the marriage, and really didn't understand or agree with it. And I'll never forget it. I was really attacked. It was an attempt to really embarrass me. So I had to subtract him from my life. And it really, it was an exercise in how a divorce, when you are finally faced with that reality in society, many people cannot accept that they will no longer be your friend anymore. They don't really care what the circumstances is. All they see is you left the marriage, and they have no idea, what the circumstances were. But you get blamed for it, especially, I think, in my particular situation, because nobody will tolerate the fact that you went out of the marriage, which is a whole nother story. We as a species seem to completely be convinced that marriage is the absolute end-all and cure-all and must-have to raise a family. Boy, I feel like I'm on the way of proving that a myth. Stay tuned. Trust me, I'm not crazy. I don't really want to be lugging this thing back in and out, but I got to keep it warm tonight. Tomorrow I got to apply some spots of that expandable urethane foam to try to get it perfectly smooth. I'm this close. By the way, evidence has arisen that disputes Eli Whitney even invented the cotton gin in the first place. It appears that enslaved workers actually invented the cotton gin after all. In any event, cotton doesn't allow a person's body to breathe. In the summer, it traps heat and causes dehydration. And in the cold of winter, cotton is ineffective at insulating the human body. See what I've done here, obviously. Just trying to make sure we get these areas, all these little small depressions. We gotta get these filled. We're getting ready for pour number 3 or 4. It's pretty sanded, pretty good. I think we're ready. I'm not alone anymore. I have moral support.
Hello.
She thinks I'm doing a good job.
You are.
Very helpful. It's very helpful. As it turns out, my second batch of the urethane foam was of a different density. I don't think it's a big deal. It's got more air voids, but it's up top, so the adhesive will grip it. And second confession, I am unable to find the material needed to adhere the old skin to the core. I've vacillated back and forth several times. Right now, I'm just trying to get this project done, and I need the materials. As if that's not bad enough, cotton doesn't wick away the moisture off your skin. Once you get wet by either perspiration or getting caught in a heavy downpour, it immediately starts sucking the heat out of your body and causes hypothermia. So it is for these reasons I exclusively wear non-cotton clothing like wool and other synthetics, such as polyester, polypropylene, and capylene.
She wants
She wants a more formal commitment. She wants a more formal commitment. She wants a more formal commitment.
She wants a more formal commitment.
She wants a more formal commitment.